Thank you all for taking the time to join us on Outside the Box, the Mental Health and Wellness Creative Arts Series. If you're not familiar with the series, you can visit otbseries.com. This is our fourth workshop in the series. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors and affiliates and supporters. Number one, Mental Health America, Los Angeles. And Molly Ann is here from that office as well. Hi, Molly Ann. Okay, so Mental Health America, LA, Island 17 Dow, LA Media Consultants, Eco Design Lab, Hugimals, which have these adorable weighted teddy bears and different stuffed animals. I just did a giveaway. Eco Art Lab, Hawaii Marketing LLC, RK Electronics, the Witslings, and the Greater Contribution. They're all sponsors and supporters. I want to introduce Judy Stakee. Some of you might know her. I believe one of your students is here. I'm really excited to have Judy join us today. I want to give you a little bit of a background on Judy, and she's going to fill you in on the rest. She has spent over 35 years in the music business as a music publishing executive, working at such companies as Arista Music, Screen Gems Music, and 20 years at Warner Chappell Music. She now runs her own artist development company based on her motto, "It all starts with a song," and developed a methodology that is now practiced by songwriters worldwide. You can meet up with Judy every Sunday, 12 to 1 on Facebook to answer questions and get advice. You can join Judy's community there on Facebook. She also has incredible retreats. She has a book out, The Songwriter Survival Guide, and a TED Talk. So I'll give you a minute if you want to jot this down. All right, and I'm going to let Judy take it away. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I am going to spend the next hour telling you a little bit about myself, a little bit about my company, and what I believe and what I teach and educate my songwriters. I'm going to leave lots of time for questions at the end, but I would like to invite you all, if you do have a question, either put it in the chat or unmute yourself and find a time to go, excuse me, because because it's such a small group, it's really nice to have that luxury of being a little bit more intimate and a little bit more flowing than, having to speak to 100 people. My mother says I came out of the womb singing and dancing. And what was great about that is that music was just in my life the whole time, and I followed it. I took 13 years of piano lessons. I took a few guitar lessons, but mainly self-taught. I took voice lessons. I took dance lessons. I went to USC and majored in music, and specifically voice, and came out of college, out of this wonderful institution, and went, here I am, world, what do I do? And had no idea, because I didn't have a me in my life. I didn't have a guide or a mentor. And as wonderful and as supportive as my parents were, they were going through their own stuff at the time and didn't really know how to guide me. So being the resourceful woman that I am, I quickly caught on and started listening and started watching and just followed the signs. And I had taken a sales job right out of college so I could pay my rent on my apartment, and was only there for 3 months, and I met a woman who came from New York to get into the music business. And I went, there's a music business? Because back then there was no internet. There was no they weren't teaching songwriting at USC. They weren't teaching any pop music. It was either you were, going to be in the opera or you're going to be in the symphony. So I followed her. And followed her into, she was working at Arista Music. She got a job there and then recommended me, and then I was off. And I spent 7 years at Arista Music. To me, that was my master's. Instead of going to school and getting a master's, I went to Arista Music and learned what the music business is, which is, if you want to be in this business, you really have to do some work on, or research on what you're getting yourself into. So I learned what BMI and ASCAP were, and I learned about, what a lawyer does and what a manager does and what a record company does and all the different facets of a record company. And it was just, it was like going to Disneyland. It was just so, everything was just so bright and shining, and all parts were moving, and it was just like so exciting. It's like, I don't know where to turn first. But what was interesting is that I stayed in publishing. As much as I, learned all the different parts of the record company and so forth, I stayed in publishing. Because what publishing was the development of the songwriter and the song. And no matter how many songs you've written, every time you write a song, you have to come back to the beginning and start again. So every time you finish this 200 to 300 word song and it's 4 minutes long, it's like, oh, yay, it's done. It's like, okay, now back to the beginning. Now, what do I want to say? And that process can get really tiring. It's nice when you can write a screenplay. It takes you a year and a half, and then you can let it go. And then you spend another year and a half with something. But with a song, it's very quick, and you have to be of the right mind, the right body and soul to be able to churn that out, to be able to go, okay, I was talking about my anger then, but I'm not angry now. So where am I now to talk about this story? And I found that the most rewarding part of the job. A&R is not all it cracks up to be. There's a lot of budgets and a lot of, negotiating with studios. And I was like, no. I want to be sitting in the room with the writer. I want to be with the creative person, figuring out what they need to do. So I worked for Arista for 7 years. I then went to the Capitol Record EMI system and worked for Screen Gems Music, which was their publishing company. And at Arista, though, I was finding my way and it was new and it was just so exciting. I got to Screen Gems and it was all these songwriters, like the Brill Building songwriters had been there, had been established. So all of a sudden I was taking care of Carole King and Gerry Goffin and Mann and Cynthia Weil and all these like real legends in the business, which was great because now I spent 3 years there learning about the creative process. We had studios at the company, so I got to actually witness the writing process. So this was my master's upon my master's. I spent 3 years there, and then I went to Warner Chappell. Warner and Chappell had just merged, the Warner Music Group and then Chappell Music, which is one of the oldest publishing companies around. They merged. Together, they then had 1 million songs. And so I was hired to I was the vice president of creative. I was in charge of all the staff writers on the West Coast. And I spent 20 years there. And I signed a lot of writers and developed a lot of writers and got a lot of cuts and signed artists and developed artists and put co-writes together. And just, it was a job that no matter whatever I thought of doing, I could do. If I came in the morning, I think I'm going to put Susie with Johnny today. It's like, that's a great idea. I could just implement it. As I say, they gave me so much wingspan to do my job. I did it well also. It was just so much fun. I had an immense amount of joy and a lot of reward from the efforts that I put in, because I had a huge company behind me and I had resources, and it was great. The music business is a little different now. And the music business really changed around 2009, 2010. After 9/11 came the internet, came a recession, came also the transfers of everything. Every piece of paper that was in every single file had to be put into a computer, which cost every company out there millions of dollars. Whether you were Toyota, Bank of America, or Warner Chappell, you had to put every single piece of paper, as I say, every single license that Sheryl Crow had for all I want to do is have some fun. And there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Each one had to be put into a computer or she wouldn't get paid. That's just one song. I tell you, for a couple of years, there were makeshift desks in the hallways at Warner Chappell and temps who were just there to input all that information. Because as soon as they switched to digital, if my information was in there, I wasn't getting paid. So that put a lot of strain on companies, plus the recession, plus 9/11, plus the transfer of going to digital. Now everybody was accountable. You couldn't hide the numbers anymore. So that really shifted our whole landscape, not, like I said, just at Warner Chappell, but at every music company and every bank and every place had to reimagine, just like we have now. 20 years ago, we had to do the same thing because we had a catastrophe, 9/11, and the internet. And so it combined. So I started my own company in 2009, and I did it with my motto, it all starts with a song. And I provide one-on-one consultations. I provide song critiques, which I think are the most valuable, so that you can have a mirror that sits there and actually tells you why your song isn't working and what you do to make it work. And then I put on these week-long retreats, which actually Ruben is a graduate of, and he's also taken my alumni retreat. And I take songwriters away for a week. Think of it as a working vacation. And I put you through the methodology that I'm going to lay out for you in just a minute. And you get to go through the process of, what is it going to take? What do I have to put in my life? What foundation do I have to lay to have a career that's going to last me forever? And a career that if I want to add a branch onto, I can add a few branches, or I can add a second story to, or my foundation is going to be so solid that I will be able to build a career, whatever that looks like, because I never know what the results are. We just let's start with the foundation. So when I left Warner Chappell, and I left over 30 years in the music business of being safe and having a paycheck and medical insurance and, every resource. I had a huge IT department. If something went wrong, it was like, Eddie, could you come and fix my BlackBerry? I didn't have to pick up a finger. And then I came to my own office here with my dogs at my feet. And my consultant said to me the first day, she said, so, because we were doing the website and all that, she said, so tell me, what do you do? And I said, well, I develop songwriters. And she said, well, how do you do that? I said, well, I sit and talk to them and I listen to their songs and I give them feedback. And she's like, that's fine if you're working for Warner Chappell, but when you have to go out into the world, you're going to have to explain yourself a little bit more of what you do. And I went, well, nobody's ever really asked me to explain myself. All I had to do was say, I'm Judy Stakee from Warner Chappell, and was like, fine, I'll sign you. And I just did what I did. So I had to really do a lot of research within myself and come and write down and get out of me what my methodology was. And this is one of the reasons Janine asked me here. What did I do with, I had my bulletin board.
I have a quick question while you're looking for your bulletin board.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Your methodology was your years of experience leading up to that moment. And then you just kind of fine tuning it depending on your situation, right?
Yes, it was. I look back on how I was guiding my songwriters. And I started thinking about what I did and, my techniques and all of that stuff and what worked and what didn't. And then when I quit Warner Chappell and I started my own company, I also had the time to really start taking other workshops on how to lead a workshop, how to lead, how to start your own company. I mean, so many different things. Yes. And that also went into this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, the reason Janine, I believe, asked me here, is because of this part of it. I'm in real belief that it's not just dream come true. It's not just, whatever you do in your life, there's a process that you have to look at your whole thing, and you cannot leave yourself out of it. Basically what it is. So let me get to my methodology and then I can explain a little bit more. I think it's better that way. Okay. So are all of you songwriters? No, they're not.
Oh, no.
Okay. So Ruben, you're the only songwriter here.
Oh, okay.
Really? Okay. So I teach this and I roll this out as through the lens of being a songwriter. Okay. But I'm going to show you the trick. So my first question is, what is a song? Okay. Well, what you can do is say, what is a speech? What is an interview? What is an audition? What is the story that I have to tell? Okay. For a song, you integrate your voice, your lyric, which is your story told in a very short amount of time, and your melody. Okay. So for a song, you have to combine your voice, la, 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 your lyric, twinkle, twinkle, little star, and a melody, na, 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 na. And then you get twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder where you are. Okay, what you are. So if you're not a songwriter, if you're not a singer and you're not writing songs, you're still using your voice. Hi, it's very nice to meet you. I'm here to interview for the job. Your lyric, which is your story. Hi, my name is Judy, and I've been doing this for about 30 years. Your job really interested me because that's your story. And your melody. The melody is, hi, my name is Judy Stakee, instead of, hi, my name is Judy Stakee. It's a completely different melody. One is rock and roll, and the other one's a little soft listening, okay? So what melody, what intention? Do you want to be a little forward? Do you want to be forceful? Do you want to be shy? Do you want to be coy? What melody are you going to use to tell your story with your voice? Because every time you go into an audition or an interview, you're still using this. The only difference between singing and talking is just a little nuance. That's all it is. I could sing the whole time I'm here, but I don't. I talk, but I'm still using my voice, my melody, and my lyric. So for a lot of my clients, before they go into an interview or a meeting with a publishing or record exec, they come in and we do role playing, and they have to do the meeting with me so that they are used to what are they going to say? Do they have everything ready? They need to have a story ready. They need to have questions ready. How are you going to be ready in order to navigate your life the best way? It's by your voice, your lyric, and your melody. Now, this is the kicker, okay? Because this is what I figured out, is that a songwriter is a songwriter is a songwriter. And then you can have the greatest songwriter in the world, okay? But if they're not taking care of their body, their mind, and their soul, it doesn't work. Because the way you develop yourself is through your body, mind, and soul. If you are not taking care of your body, mind, and soul, then you can forget the rest. Because look at this. I hope you guys can see this. But your voice doesn't exist without your body. Your body has a feeling. Your mind goes, ooh, I know what that feeling is. Ooh, I recognize that. Your voice comes up, your breath vibrates it against your vocal cords, and you speak, I'm hungry. But your body had the feeling first. Your body knows more than your mind will ever be able to comprehend. So if your body is in dis-ease, your voice will be too. I had heartburn bad once in my life. That was enough. I will never have it again because I will never go that by my design. I couldn't speak for 2 days. I mean, I couldn't be nice for 2 days. I told my husband, at the very beginning, I said, just don't even listen to me, because every time I even talk to you, it's going to come out like I'm Satan or something, because I was in such pain. People create like that. Now, I know on some end of the spectrum, there's somebody out there who thrives on that. Okay. But that's the 1%. For most of us, if we don't take care of ourselves, of our body, our voice is not going to be there. Your mind is a computer. Your lyrics are words. There's a billion of them. Which words do you like? Which words do you which words do you want to use? Which words get you what you want to get? And then your soul and your melody I put together, because your soul is who you are, what you're feeling, what you're doing. And that's going to come out in the melody. Like I said, Brian got up that morning. I was like, what do you want for breakfast? He was like, I said, everything's going to come out like that because I'm in pain, So how are you going to, hold on, let me back up. The reason I give this is for you to be aware of what you need to put in place. This is the foundation. These are the tools that you need in your life to create a solid foundation. The creative process is when you take the time, the space, and the tools to make your art. So you want to bake a cake, you need a kitchen, the space, you need an hour and a half to 2 hours, and your tools would be a bowl and a spatula and chocolate and flour and butter and all those things. It's no difference no matter what you're going to be doing in life. No matter what you do, you are still going to need your voice. I'm going to put that, it's right underneath the glaring window, but there you go. The voice, your melody, your lyrics, and you're going to have to take care of your body, mind, and soul. So when I take people to these retreats, we do yoga every morning to start. The breakfast, the lunch, and the dinner, we take an hour for each one, and it's healthy and it's community driven. So after yoga, everyone's at breakfast, just, what did you think of that pose? What did you think of this? Are you excited for today? Then we have in the mornings, we have all the learning and the teaching and my education. They then have lunch, and then they co-write in the afternoon. So to promote community, so that they can write things, to promote teamwork, so that they're doing things together. And then in the evening after dinner, they share what they wrote that night. So there's a nice schedule and a nice plan, giving them the hologram of, if you want to do this for real, then you're going to have to find time to take care of your body. I suggest first thing in the morning, you can do whatever the hell you want. I suggest having good food on, that will encourage and nurture you instead of bring you down. I suggest a co-write every day. I suggest you learning something. There's all these nice little, like in the morning is a really good time for education, because your brain is so alert, where if you're trying to teach something in the late afternoon, it's harder. It's better. Let's share things, and then you can just like sit back and then share. But what's really interesting about the retreats is that the last day, they've been there for 5 days. Okay. We have a breakfast that morning, and I say, look at whatever all of you guys did. There was 21 of you here. You got to, you learn, you bonded with all these new people. You wrote 3 songs. You took 3 yoga classes. You had a voice lesson. You had a guest come in to inspire you. You shared your songs every day. And you had about 10 or 11 hours of education and homework and all these exercises. And you found 3 hours out of every single day to eat. And that's what they all go, oh my, I said, look, breakfast, I gave you an hour. I gave you a lunch an hour, and I gave you dinner an hour. You took 3 hours, and look at all you accomplished. It's about being aware and looking at your life and figuring out what is working and what is not through this lens. Because if you're not, like I said, you don't take care of your body, your voice ain't going to be there. You don't take care of the computer and the mind, and you start learning all these new words, you're going to be using the same words in a song. You're going to be saying the same thing every time you meet somebody. It's how do you expand your vocabulary? How do you expand your thoughts and ideas? Because that's what creates your reality. The better storyteller you are, the easier it becomes. I'm not saying it does not hard, but it does become easier the better storyteller you are.
Judy, I'm just going to add something, because
Yes.
this is so insightful, in that this is a game changer for somebody's life, because they probably have this expectation of like, I'm going to go to this retreat and I'm going to do just songwriting. Not that they have to take a good hard look at who they are and how they're treating their mind, body, and soul.
But they do.
It's amazing.
They do.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many have come back to me and shared with me how this has changed them, how they finally started doing exercise, eating right, just all the little things that you put in place. I've had quite a few retreaters become yoga teachers.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'll get, I just lost 50 pounds and I just did this,
Yeah. Do you see when you're coaching people, like you probably do, like you can see somebody's been hurt, or they're angry, or they're this, or through their what they're expressing to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we as a society are used to carrying our emotions around with us and not getting them out.
Yeah.
And for songwriters, being vulnerable is one of your best attributes. I mean, it's one of your best tools to use, is being, if you're not vulnerable as a songwriter, then you're not going to be connecting to an audience. And songwriters have a huge responsibility, because songs heal our souls. Not too much else does. You know, when we're in love, that can heal our souls, but songs on a every 3 minutes can heal your soul in some way. So the responsibility of writing a song that is going to connect with somebody else, that's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
Either melodically, lyrically, and or both.
One last question. On your retreats, is it all different levels? Like if somebody says, hey,
yes.
I'm a beginner.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I make sure that everybody there knows what they're doing. So I've had a 15-year-old who was beyond her years and is now at Berkeley and winning awards and winning, so-and-so came to sing at the Berkeley thing and I got to open for them. You know, it's like she's really going, but she started at 15 and found out through the retreat that she had a not so rosy growing up. She had some struggles, and not because of her, but because of the situation around her. And she came to the retreat and wrote me a beautiful letter and said, I learned that I have other things to talk about.
Beautiful. And
went past it. You know, instead of being stuck right here, it was like, and it helped her because of her co-writers. And I have co-writers. I have a couple of gentlemen, a couple of women every year that, you know, are in their 50s or 60s, but they had to give it up and they want to come back and they want to learn. They want to do something with it. And the reason they are accepted is because they also have something about them. There's a guy that, you know, plays the guitar amazingly, but he hasn't written a song in a bit, you know, but boy, was he great in that co-write because he was the guitar player, you know, and then he learned from her, the 15-year-old, he was inspired and she was inspired by him that he could come back. So there's a lot of inspiring going all around. Especially in the pandemic. I feel like people are doing things they've always wanted to do or coming back to it. Are you seeing that? Yeah, oh yes, during the pandemic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So do I have any questions from any of you? No. Okay. So I'm going to go a little deeper then, because I think this is really real good stuff. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about the voice, the body, and the mind. Because not all of you are songwriters, but I think it's really important that you really pay attention to your voice. So if you are somebody that is going to be, well, everybody uses their voice a lot, all right? But if you're going to be interviewing for quite a few jobs, and this is, you know, this is what you're going to be doing for the next 6 months is interviewing, then I would definitely find yourself a coach, find yourself a friend, find somebody that you can practice with, that you can write out what you want to say so that you're more confident walking in. And how do you use your voice? I use this example a lot, but I'm sure you all have seen Friends where Janice, Chandler's girlfriend, was just that voice. I couldn't listen. Chandler, how you doing? Chandler, you know. So how do you use your voice so that it's soothing, so that it's that you can get across what you want to get across? Practicing is a really great thing. A little sidebar, I have a client right now who is, she's in the process of writing, but she's producing and she's just a little bit farther along. And I suggested to her that she go find a choreographer / movement coach / well, I tell you, it's changed her whole thing. I mean, just knowing how to walk into a room, which was the first thing they worked on, was just her walking on stage, walking into a room. She's like, no one's ever even thought, I've never even thought about how I walked into a room, you know, but the confidence now that has led to It's just because that's the first step, and then you add on to it. It's the same thing as the voice. You know, when you walk into a room, when you come into an interview, you want to be able to say, "Hi, how are you?" instead of "Hi, how are you? What's going on?" You know, it's like, okay. And I've had clients like that. I've had clients who sat across, paid lots of money, and I've had to say, "What? Excuse me? What are you saying?" You know, it's like mumbling. So that's one thing to really pay attention to. So your lyrics. When you're writing a song, there are certain guidelines, all right? So I'm going to give you the guidelines in hopes that you can use this in your everyday, all right? So when you're writing a lyric, it's very important that you have the once upon a time. Have you ever been with somebody who's started a story and then you have to wait till the very end to know what they're talking about? Okay. So it's when you're rolling something out, I'd like to tell you why I'm the best person for this job. Okay, so now let me tell you, instead of going, and the person's going, why are you listening? What do all of these have in common? You know, so it's once upon a time, something happened. Once upon a time, you want to tell me something. That's the first verse of a lyric. The chorus of the lyric is the why, is the, let me give you my perspective on it. This is what happened, and this is what I think. So let me tell you why I'm great for this job. I held a similar position for 8 years here. I've had extensive training. I know I've been off for a year, but during that time, I took 2 more workshops, and I think I can handle it. So there's your verse. And then your chorus is, I think I can handle it. Trust me, I think I can handle it. And you can keep going on your verses and tell me a little bit more. But the bottom line is you want that person to know, I know I can handle it. So the way you roll out a story in a lyric is not dissimilar for how you would roll out going to an interview or telling a story to somebody. You know, it's when you learn how to songwrite, you learn how to write a story in a very short amount of time. And like I said, that's an interview, that's an audition, that's a first date. That's so many, your first, trying to get a client, your first few minutes with a client. I mean, that first impression is so important. And to know your story, to know if somebody said, okay, you've got a minute, who are you? That you would know in a minute how to roll that out. Exactly the same as somebody said, all right, I got 20 minutes. Or I've got a whole lunch. Take the hour. Tell me, who are you? It's much different, but you know your story and you know the words you want to use. The other thing about telling a lyric and is important in everyday life is your perspective. What's your perspective on it? I don't want to know what Kelly Clarkson's would say or Jennifer Lopez or anybody. I want to know what you think. And that's really important. I don't know how many times you have been asked, so what do you want for dinner? And you say, I don't care, whatever you want, doesn't matter to me. Start with something little like that, where you are asked, what would you like for dinner? You're asked it, so it's all yours. And so you can stop and think and go, well, if I really had my druthers, I like to go and get a really good piece of salmon. And then if they don't want to do that, then you can decide. But it's what do you want? What do you see for yourself? Those are real. What is your perspective on things? What is your perspective on you go and say, listen, I believe that I would be the best person for this job. I know I can do it and all that. And let me tell you, I've been looking at, how you've been rolling this product out. And I actually have a suggestion that I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I sat at home one night looking at what you're selling. And I thought, wow, what if they combine this with that? That's your perspective. That's your adding to something instead of going, oh, I see what everybody else sees. Start seeing what you see. Start noticing what you're aware of. Start being conscious of what it does to you. Because that's the uniqueness, that's your greatness. That's how you are going to make your mark in the world is by, I want to know what you see. I don't see anything I can see what's in back of me because I'm on Zoom. But if we were just sitting here on a one-on-one, Molly, and I'd be like, there could be a clown back there dancing and dancing it up. And I would have no idea. I need her to be able to give me that perspective. That's why we need each other, is so somebody else can give, so other people can give other perspectives, because we can only see what we see, but what we see is really important. Okay. I'm going to give you a little example. I had a writer come in and he needed help with his stories in the verses. And he was tearing his hair out. And I said, I thought you had a bad breakup. And I only seen him a couple of times. So I was treading softly. And I said, I thought you broke up with this girl and it was really bad and you're not in a great place. And he was like, my relationship is like a big ball of string over there in the corner. And if I start unraveling it, it's going to go everywhere. And I'm like writing down this as fast as I can. And I'm like, here's your first verse. I mean, how wonderful that that's your perspective, that it's wound up in a ball of string. And if you start going through it, that relationship's going to go, you're not ready for it. You're not ready to dissect it. You want to keep it over there. That's his perspective. He didn't have to make it okay. So perspective is a really good, a good word to have. I have it on a sign right back there, a huge sign. There it is. The third thing that I tell everybody when writing lyrics, and it's important when you, especially like in an interview, an audition, things that are very finite, okay? It's not like I have a whole lunchtime, is remember when you're writing a lyric, you're writing for a scene in a movie, which means you don't have to tell me everything. You don't have to tell me every single thing and where it started and where it ended. I want to know this little bit. I want to know you picked up the phone and I got the news. Oh, I wasn't ready for this. Oh, I knew it was coming, but you stay right there. You stay right there in the story that you're telling. I don't need to know, oh, I put down the phone and then I walked to the kitchen and then I decided to call so-and-so. And no, it's like, I want to know what went on right when that happened. Once upon a time, my boyfriend left me. I thought I was going to die. I never got out of bed for a week. So I want to know right there what happened. And that's also, you can relate that to when you're talking, I go to an interview and audition because they're the easy, they're more, they're general. All right. They're more routine, but it could be for anything, in keeping on the subject, in keeping in with how it affected you. Does that make sense? Okay. So that I'm teaching because I teach in how to write lyrics, but I've also consulted quite a few people that don't write songs in how to talk, how to communicate, how to be a better speaker, how to communicate better, basically. And we communicate by the stories that we tell. Don't ever forget that, okay? Because even the story that I'm telling you about stories that we tell is a story. All I've done is sat here for 45 minutes and told you story after story after story. Become a great storyteller in whatever profession that you go into, by making sure that you have a once upon a time, making sure that you have your perspective, and making sure that you keep it within the scene. You don't have to tell me the whole movie. You don't have to tell me the half an hour sitcom. I just want to know one scene at a time. Okay. So any questions about that?
That's amazing, because it does get people to learn how to communicate more effectively and tap into perhaps the way they have their interpersonal relationships or the way they process things. Yeah.
Well, I have a dear friend who's a great talker, but will go, she'll go here and then she'll split apart and split apart and split apart. And then she comes back and then she finally comes back and wraps it up. But you have to follow her. You have to be really, it's a winding road because, so-and-so's uncle and then their girlfriend did it. And then you've got to go, wait a minute, we were on this person and now they've got an uncle and a girlfriend and
Right.
So but when you have a lunch or you've got the time, then that's one thing. However, when we're at work and we are trying to get ahead and we're trying to get our clients to get ahead and we have meetings and we have, we're dealing with people, it's how do we communicate the best way to get what we want?
So you're saying be succinct.
Be succinct, yeah.
Because
for many years, I wrote things out before I had my meetings. Oh, I wrote things out. I mean, one of the last year at Warner Chappell, I was having meetings with, there's so many people to have meetings with because everybody kept coming and going and bosses and blah, blah, blah. And I would sit there and write what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And I would go over it and go over. And then I'd memorize it so much, it would be in me after writing it that I could throw it away. Yeah. And I may not have been able to be exactly what I wanted, but I was much more confident going in there knowing I know exactly the points that I need to make in order to get him to sign off on this or whatever it was.
It becomes like improv, like, your little
preparation.
Yeah.
Preparation and the homework. There's nothing that replaces that,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to share anything or they're thinking about?
Yeah. Or anybody have any like struggles or walls that they've hit that they would like a little advice on? Free consultation.
They want to take something that happened to them and create a song.
Hold on. I love all the yoga here. Jess Rhodes. I love all the yoga talk and mind, body, and connection. I'm actually a yoga teacher. Haha. Become a great storyteller. Such a valuable statement. Taking songwriting a little further beyond the song. How does someone become a songwriter at a publishing company? How does the songwriter get their songs heard and considered for established artists? You become a songwriter at a publishing company by being able to prove to them that you know what you're doing. Okay. So if you want to sell shoes at Bloomingdale's, if you want your shoes to sell, then you're going to walk into Bloomingdale's with the greatest shoe ever. And the girl's going to put it on and go, oh my God, we've got to sell this here. Same theory. All right. You've got to write great songs in order to attract a music publisher. It used to be back in the day, and there are publishing companies that still do this, but the percentage is, let's say there's 5% of all writers that are signed as developing writers, where before it could have been at least 50% of all writers that were signed were developing because you had the staff and the staff to implement the development. But they don't have the me's in the music business anymore. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing out here. But to get a publishing deal, you have to prove to them that you know what you're doing. So you have to write great songs. That's how the business has changed. It used to be that you could, a lawyer, a manager, somebody would walk you across the moat into the castle and say, here, go work with Judy Stakee at Warner Chappell and she'll develop you and she'll get you a record deal. And, and there you go. It's like, great. And we'd make a deal and all that. Well, there is no more castle anymore. There's there's the Star Trek Enterprise up in the sky. That's the marketing and the branding and the computers and the royalties and all that. And it's left the rest of the universe to develop, which means that anybody can be a songwriter. And we know that because if you go on Spotify, anybody can be a songwriter. I miss the old days where I was told what to listen to. I miss the gatekeepers, because there's so much. Mm-hmm. But how do you rise to the top? You become great. So it's your responsibility, no matter what you want to do in this life, to become great at it, to take any extra workshops, get consulting, take online video workshops, whatever you have to, retreats, whatever you have to do in order to get to the next level. And by the way, once you get to that next level, there's something else to do.
Ruben added something.
Let me just finish. Jet. And how to get your songs heard and considered for established artists. I believe that is networking. It's a great song. Okay. You have to have a great song, but then there's your network. All right. I have told every single one of my clients and anybody who's ever taken a retreat, you play me a song that I think is a smash hit for Faith Hill, I will be the first one to be calling so-and-so and saying, guess what? I found the hit. I want to be the hero. Everybody in this music business wants to be the hero. We want to say yes. We want to find the next hit. Okay. That is the name of the game. All right. So when you write those songs, I believe that there's enough people in the network, if you've networked, and with a great song, you can network even better. Okay. Because you can actually have the confidence to call somebody and go, I have your next single. I know, but I've done my homework. I have your next single. If you don't think so, I'll never send you anything again. And they listen to it and they go, oh my God, who are you? Okay. So like when I have clients that are getting ready to release things, I had an intern here forever. And then I hired her and she became my assistant. And she wrote a song, like every day she was playing me something new every day. And it was like, go back and do this, go back. And one day she brought me a song and I went, wow, I like that. And she was like, wait, hold on, hold the horses. You like that? And I was like, yeah, I really like this. I said, little twitches. And she produced it and she released it as her first single. It wasn't the hit of all hits of all hits. It was a really good song. And it was really, it showed her off. It showed her voice. It showed her writing skills. And it was great because she could show it to other people. She now had a release and she could say, I'd like to write with you. Listen to this. That's what got her. And that took her here, took her here, took her here, took her here. But we make sure that every song is great unto what it's supposed to be. Like I said, not every song is a hit #1 song, but it's still great in what it is. Mm-hmm. All right, Ruben, the thing about one scene, not the whole movie, and it being my perspective are my big takeaways. Drilling this stuff is important for me. Yeah, it's interesting, Ruben. I know Ruben's taken my retreats and my alumni and done consultations. And, it's you hear something different a few years later and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, it finally stuck, So I'm glad you're on here today. Really, I'm glad. Regarding the topic, this is what John. Regarding the topic about job interviews, how do you prioritize what's the most interesting or important part of the story? Well, I think a mirror is good for that, which means somebody sitting in front of you telling you what's good and what sounds great. You want to tell them you have to make sure you have to tell them your background, if that's important, in any way that you spin the story. It's, well, I just started writing last year. I thought I was going to go to medical school and all of a sudden the bug hit me and I abandoned it for this. Or I've been playing guitar since I was 2 years old and I've taken lessons and, and now I'm here. So you have to give a little bit about the backstory. The most interesting things are your accomplishments. What little things can you ping out? It's like, what do you want really people to know? I was helping an artist get a record deal, and her name was Kelly Coffey, and she had a record deal on RCA and won ACM Artist of the Year in 2003, I think it was. God, it was a long time ago. But in all the interviews in the record companies, there were certain things that we wanted to bring up, but she didn't want to bring them up. So I was the wingman, and one of them was that she sang with Barbra Streisand on 1999, that, the year that, everything was going to shut down. It was the decade, we're going into the 2000s, and she was at her Las Vegas show. And so she's got all these stories and they're really funny. So I had a leading question that would always go into New Year's Eve, and then she could bring it up. So, you plan for things like that. It's like, what's something that you can brag about without bragging, Yeah.
Like that. Does anybody else have any questions? Because we're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes. Is anybody a writer here that is thinking about songwriting? Because a lot of times people are poets, writers, creative writers.
Anybody now interested in becoming a songwriter after this talk? No. I think the takeaway, and I know everyone's takeaway is different. However, before you can even start songwriting, before you can even start communicating and telling your story, take care of yourself. It's really, really important. And I'm going to give you one last little visual here, which I think is really important. And I do credit my best friend for having this vision one night. It was like a dream that she had, but I use it all the time. And she was a big glass of milk in this dream, and she had these big hands. And the voice above her said, dole out the milk. And she was like, what? And all of her friends and family were sitting in front of her with these little cups. And so she started doling out the milk. She started doling out the milk, and everybody was getting milk, and everybody was drinking, and everybody was happy. And she put her arms down, and the milk, the glass was empty. And so then the voice above her said, reverse the hands, dole the milk back in. And she was like, what? So she started doing this, and magically, of course, the milk started filling up and filling up and filling up, and the glass overflowed. And all of her friends and family are sitting there with all their milk, and they're getting all the milk and stuff, and it's just overflowing. In the first scenario, she emptied herself to make sure everybody had milk. In the second scenario, she filled herself up first, and everyone still got enough milk. So it's about making sure that you're taking care of yourself, body, mind, and soul, that you have that foundation so that you can grow the tree of life and have limb after limb and branch after branch and support it, because your foundation is going to be strong because you're taking care of your body, which, by the way, is sleep, diet, and exercise. It's those three things to look at. How much sleep do you get? What are you putting in your body? And how are you moving it? Because those three things together will keep your avatar really, really in good condition for your mind and your soul. Because you can't capture your mind and your soul. They're here somewhere, but you can take care of this body. So, okay. Jess writes, Molly, you're so inspiring. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, that was is that it? You want me to go? I can keep going.
Are we going to try to do a giveaway? Maybe a little bit of time with you or something? We have to figure out how we would do that. But
so we have is Molly. I see you, but then your words. I see Molly. Molly,
Molly says I have to go. Thank you.
Oh, who's with the brown? Oh, I'm sorry. I never saw. There's Molly.
There's Molly.
There you go. Hi.
Hi.
I apologize. I've got another meeting at 2:00.
You go. Thank you so much.
Got it.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks for joining
You're
us.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I have Jess. I have, who's the cat person? Is that?
Is it June Huang?
Yeah, it's June.
June. Okay.
Hi.
June, Jess, and
Jessica.
Okay. So do all three of you guys write in some way? Do you write songs? No.
So I write poetry,
Okay.
but I'm also a teacher. So this is something that I really want to take away for me, but also to use with my students, as well. Like myself and Janine have spoke about like different ways that I try to incorporate, my students having a voice in the classroom aside from writing and, just writing essays and doing all these things. So I'm very big into theater and musical theater and everything. So songs, and everything are important to me. So this was just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I knew
I'm
you
glad.
would love to be Jessica. That's why I invited you.
You.
I kept saying, here's the link. You got to come.
Thank
So
you.
since there's 5 of you, right?
Yes.
There's 5 of you. Okay. So, because I talked to Janine about this before, and she was like, would you want to give something away? And I was like, well, I can't give something away to, like, if there's 20 people on, it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So what I can do is give everybody what's called a song critique. Okay. Which means that, like, Ruben, you write songs, so you get a free song critique. Okay. So he would bring a song in, he would send me a song, and I would go over the lyrics and the melody with him, giving him like 10, 12-ish minutes, something in there. Okay. So if you don't have a song and you want to get on with me and do a short consultation, then let's do that. Okay. We call it a song critique, but Jessica, you and I might have some suggestions on some things to do in your classroom, for the kids, some stuff as far as writing, which would be fun for them, but it wouldn't just be about songwriting. They would be learning other things, obviously, underneath them. So if you guys want to do that, that's fine. Does everybody would like to do that?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. That sounds
Joan,
good.
do you write?
June?
It's
June,
Jess.
sorry.
It's Jess Rhodes, but yeah, I think that
Oh.
would be amazing. That would be awesome.
Okay. All right. So, Janine, if you want to give them my, oh, you know what? I'll just give
We'll
it
put
to
it
you
in the
guys.
chat.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. Just put
So-
your email.
Okay. So what you will do is you will email me and remind me. I'm going to take all your names down here, but okay, Desiree, Jess, June. I got that right. And then Jessica, right? And I know Ruben. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll just email me and say, what do you know, can I get 10, we'll do like 10, 15 minutes. Okay. So I'll give you guys some time, but, I'll, just email me and say, when can you do it? Or you give me like, how are you on Tuesday or something? Okay. Cause I work out of my house, so I'm pretty open.
I'm going to just share your information one more time so people have this if they
Okay.
want to your TED Talk or.
Yeah, the TED Talk is about songwriting in schools because it's one of those things, and Jessica, you'll appreciate this. If kids learned how to co-write and write songs, their communication skills would be off the charts because they're learning how to talk to other people, first of all. You know, they're learning to put things together. They're learning how to collaborate and tell stories in a short amount of time. I mean, it's amazing the writers, like the benefits of this that go beyond writing.
Maybe you
No,
can
I
be a
agree.
guest
And
speaker at Jessica's school.
Yeah. And, it's unfortunate how, the arts are
I
the
know.
first thing to go, so having a theater background and getting into theater and musical theater from, being younger and everything up until college and everything, super important to me. And that's something that I really want to make sure that my students, have exposure to. I mean, even I play classical music for them in the mornings and, things like that. So this really is wonderful. And thank you for the opportunity to.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, cool.
Thank you so much, everybody,
Lovely.
for joining us.
You're welcome.
It's good to see you.
My pleasure.
And there'll be a recording. I'll have this up and I'll share it.
Okay, great. All right, bye guys. Bye. Bye, Ruben.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Ruben. Bye, Jessica. Bye, Jess. Bye, June. Bye,